Hi, I'm Maddie.
And I'm Ella. We are homeschoolers. We met through a homeschool platform called Recess, where we found our passion for learning and podcasting.
Exactly.
Come join us on our journey of self-directed learning as we dive into all the things about recess on our
Recess Rundown Podcast.
and we will hopefully see you there.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our very first episode on the Recess Rundown. Let's welcome our first guest, Joan. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me.
That's good. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. We're really
Of
excited
course.
to ask you questions and get to know you.
Amazing.
Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into education?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I guess this could be like the whole hour, but let me try to condense it. So, let's see. I'm Joan. I'm 35. I got 3 kids, which is, I think, the most humbling experience of my life by far, and the best at the same time, especially as an educator. I got into education after, I guess I loved school. I went to a very traditional school. I liked it, but learning was always separate from interest growing up, right? So it was always what I was learning at school and then what I was interested in, and those were 2 separate things. But as a kid, you don't necessarily notice because that was the status quo. That was what everyone else was doing. And I always did really well at school. I had the good grades. I didn't really have to study much, didn't have to work much. And then, I got to college, pretty much the same thing. I got into business stuff and then I wasn't really interested. And then I went and I was like, okay, wait, hold on. What do I want to do? I always swore I would not want to be a teacher. So I went into social work. By that time, a bug had started like right behind my ear saying, hey, turns out, like when you go get a job, when you do all of these things, you don't know how to work hard. You don't really know how to follow your interest, really. And it took me a lot of unlearning to do that. And then eventually I started pinpointing it back to oh, wow, I've just spent 15 years of my life or more, probably, right? But let's say 15 years of my life on autopilot, where someone was telling me what to study, what to do, how to do things. And I read a lot and I did all of a lot of other things, but it never occurred to me that that was learning necessarily, right? So I had to do a lot of I think self introspection. And then at some point, I did a bunch of social work in Barcelona. I moved to Toronto, Canada, and I found Montessori. So I walked into a Montessori school, not really knowing what I was walking into. I'd read about Montessori and I knew it resonated with me, sort of. But I had a very healthy, I think, aversion to alternative education because there was a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. Every alternative school I had gone to, they promised a lot and then they ended up not doing anything. So anyway, lo and behold, walk into a Montessori school and I find a classroom of 30 kids, 3 to 6 years old, which is a beautiful wooden, old Canadian house, all made out of wood, super large environment. There's dead silence. Every single kid in there is working. And I'm like, okay, well, where's the teacher? Just handling this. And the teacher is sitting on the side drinking tea. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. I sit down because, right, when you walk into a classroom of 3 to 6-year-olds in any traditional school, there's screaming and it's super loud. And there's a teacher going hey, kids, what's up? Right. It's a whole thing, a whole party style situation. Right. And then that was not the case. All of the kids were working and I sat down there and I spent 2 hours. And by the time I got up, I was weeping. It was such a profound moment for me. It was oh my gosh, these kids are doing hard, deep work. No one is forcing them. And they're in this beautiful, peaceful environment. And so I went, I immediately went, talked to the director of that school, started working there after a couple weeks. And I did my Montessori training, and then I did like a bunch of Montessori. I went really deep on Montessori pedagogy and schools, and started a couple schools and so on and so forth. Long story, but like yeah, that's how I got into education. It clicked for me that you could have both the freedom and agency and the rigor and hard work at the same time when I found Montessori, and then that's been uh, spent 10 years doing that. After that, that's how I got into education.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting. And what is your role at recess?
Good question. I play a lot of roles, a lot of different roles. I don't like titles, but I guess how I see my role is designing and executing on that design. So, but designing the best education plan or program that we can deliver from a computer. I think that's my purpose at Recess. So that means, and if we narrow it down a little more, I think that gets sort of like concretized into bringing in exceptional experiences for kids. So I've been curating and talking to a lot of people who already teach and are exceptional at teaching online, and then bringing them into Recess so that they can offer their classes through our platform. It is working with those people to make sure their experiences are like aligned with how we do things, right? Then developing a bunch of product that it's kid facing, so that you guys can do, or that kids at Recess, including you too, can do stuff like this, right? Or can have the experiences they want to have, and then making sure all of that is coordinated. And it's not like one person's doing one thing and the other's doing the other thing, but like actually all of us are kind of working towards the same goal, among many other things. But I think that's my primary role at Recess.
Okay.
Yay.
Why did you just decide to join Recess? What sets it apart from other educational platforms out there?
Okay, that's a very good question. Well, let me tell you the story. So I guess like after 10 years of Montessori working at different schools, I had been working at a local school here in next. I live in Barcelona, so like very close to Barcelona. This is a charter school that is in like a, let's say, economically disadvantaged area. And it was a very traditional school. I did all of the process of transforming that from a very traditional school to Montessori with super great results. But I was very burnt out by the end of it. It was very taxing personally. So then I found Synthesis, which was like another online sort of like education program, and I started teaching there. I really liked it. Got into that, and then after a few months of teaching there, I went to work full time at Synthesis as like their first hire for the Synthesis digital tutor, which they're doing like math. It was like it is still works. It's like a math tutor based on loosely on AI. Long story short, on one of the Synthesis offsite or on-sites rather, where we all flew to California to meet each other and work with the team and stuff, I met Ben. We had a very great conversation about education at very late at night. We're both like almost going to sleep, and then like we started chatting, and I really liked Ben, and then I kept in touch with him. And when he left Synthesis, we kept calling, and he said at some point he was like, "Hey, if at any time you leave Synthesis, call me." So by the time I was ready to leave Synthesis, I kept in touch with Ben, and so I called him. And I was like, "Ben, I'm ready. I really want to work with you. Your mission really resonates with what I want to do in education, right? And yeah, I really wanted to work with Ben. So then I started working at Recess. And I think your second question, which is what sets it apart, I think at the beginning, what I really liked about Recess was the idea that we were going to bring that concept of game-based education to the next level. And then it evolved pretty quickly from games to any tool, right? I think that's what's powerful about Recess. What's powerful about Recess is we want to offer a marketplace of offerings of classes to kids that are relevant to kids, but at the same time, they are refined, curated. It's not anything anyone wants to offer. There is a very deep and conscious effort to pick every single tool, every single class, every single teacher at recess and make sure that is a great experience. And the second part is we actually believe in kid agency. There's a lot of talk about kid agency, and a lot of platforms out there or programs out there, I think, will say, oh yeah, we want kids to lead, we want kids to lead, but that's like, it's not really true. We are making compromises to our business model and things that any other platform, or I know for a fact schools or other platforms are like, we can't do this because then we wouldn't work as a business. We make a lot of those concessions because we truly believe kids come first and kid agency comes first. I think that's what sets us apart. Exceptional experiences and then kid first, like kid led, actually kid led. Like you guys are doing a podcast, right? Among other things, you've written novels and there's people out there who are running full events. We've hired kids to work at recess. Like we actually do those things, right? So I think that sets us apart.
Yeah, and have you noticed any learning growth from kids in recess? Like, do you have any examples?
Definitely. Yes, I have a lot of examples. So I think, and they are in very different fields and depths, I think. So number one, I would say it always stands out when someone comes into recess and they're the type of kid who their camera is off the whole time. They're a little shy. They maybe aren't talking as much. They're having trouble engaging with other friends, right? And I can think of a couple of concrete examples of those. By the time we hit 3, 4, 5 months, some of those kids are fully like actually leading events with not only with their camera on, but like proposing other kids to join their stuff, proposing to us events that they want to run and running them exceptionally well. So that's one. They're making friends. We've got kids that have gone from like, I can't make a friend to I am meeting in real life with my friends at recess or from recess, which is incredible when you think about it, right? Like we've had kids travel states, like to different states to meet their friends, which again, super, super, super great. So that's one area of growth. I can pinpoint a couple of really cool areas of growth in terms of like confidence and like in that area. But let's talk about, for example, I teach some of the mind industry stuff or some of the mind industry cohorts, which is our like first party, like we do it ourselves program for strategy and collaboration. I've seen groups like the group that I teach with Christopher that we had last night, for example. Oh my goodness. Like the first couple of weeks, 3 weeks, we had to sit in silence for them to like actually communicate and start listening to each other. It was horrendous. Like they had a really hard time listening to each other and communicating to each other. The other day we did a PvP thing, and yes, Chris and I still beat them, but it was close. So not only their technical understanding has gone well, but like the fact that they asked us for more planning time, the quality of their discussions in planning and the reflections after, which wasn't necessarily only based on like, oh, you should have placed your turrets to the right or your turrets to the left, but like, hey man, you should have communicated better with me. That was not the plan, or we did not follow the plan, or we were not flexible enough to change the plan mid-fight or whatever. The quality of the reflections is incredible. So that's number 2, I think. And then number 3, and I'm partial to this because those are the classes I teach. Number 3, I think in Factorio, which is one of the hardest games out there, it's a game about automation. I've seen some kids who like at the beginning only wanted to like kill the enemies, which are called biters, but whatever. They just wanted to like go around and kill biters and blah, blah, blah. 4 months later, they're like, we want to play peaceful, no biters. We just want to automate. And they're actually like, they're beating the game in record times, doing creating modular designs that like I think would be worthy. Like if you saw a full-time like senior software engineer playing a game like this, their brain would think very differently than how these kids are thinking. So it's like super impressive to me. The fact that the growth, the exponential growth that I've seen in the quality of their thinking through the game and how they organize their thinking, how they organize their space in Factorio, and how they design modular, replicable automations is insane. So I think those those are some areas of growth that I've seen, and I'm sure other teachers and other guides will speak to other things. But those are the ones that come to mind pretty quickly.
Great. And when you were young, like when you were a kid, did you wish recess was available for you?
Definitely. I would not have been able to put it in those words, but I played a lot of video games as a kid, and yeah, like I wish I would have had a place first. I was never able. I was very much into role playing and into fantasy and stuff. Having someone to play D&D with, I could not do that until I moved to Boston when I was like 21 or 22. Like literally could not find anyone to play D&D with. Having a place where I could have done that would have been incredible. That's one. Two, I think connecting with people around the world is extremely powerful. As a kid, I had that desire a lot. I actually like booked myself, like my parents wanted to send me to learn English to an English class like next to where I am through the summer. It was very expensive, so I was like, actually, let's not do that. And I looked for an alternative, and I ended up going to Canada a couple summers to like a summer camp that was cheaper than all of the long hours of classes, but it was in the other side of the world. So I really had that urge to like connect with other people and learn new things and new languages and new cultures and new contexts. So that was very cool. I wish I would have, like having recess and being able to do that several times a week from my home. That would have been incredible. And then of course, like people to play video games with, and not only people to play video games with, but on top of those games that I already liked, an adult that is knowledgeable that would have pushed me into the right direction. I wish I had like a coach in League of Legends that would have been able to coach me, or someone who would have taught me macro economy or micro economy on top of World of Warcraft when I was trying to figure out how the auction house worked. Right, like someone who would have been there, or someone who would have taught me how to like design my own maps in Warcraft 3 when I was starting to play online, and I was too young and I didn't really know how to design those maps online. I tried a bunch of times, but they weren't great. I wish I would have had a class to teach me that. Right, so in hindsight, I don't think I would have been able to articulate that at that time, that I wanted a class, because that was not even a thing that existed. But for sure, it was something that I needed. So I wish I would have had recess for sure.
When you were younger, what did
Mhm.
you want to be when you were a kid, and did it change over the time?
Wow, that is a very good question. Interestingly enough, I think I had I always swore I would not be a teacher.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I always said I will never stand in front of like a class of 30 kids and lecture them. And interestingly enough, I ended up in education, right? I think that's maybe part of it. Maybe I had like that feeling of something's really wrong here. And maybe I can't pinpoint what it is exactly, but yeah. So I always said I did wanted to be a teacher. I have wanted to be many different things. For a long time, I thought robotics was like super interesting to me, and I got into that when I was, I don't know, like 14, 15, something like that. When I was a little older than that, I thought I might want to do like business, and I actually started the first year of business school, but it didn't, like, just the culture there wasn't what I was expecting. I don't know. I was not that was not something I wanted to do at that time. So it did evolve. I never had like a clear vision of this is what I want to do when I grow up. Um, Obviously, if you'd have asked me at like 12, I would have said, well, I want to play video games professionally, right? But that wasn't even a career. And here we are. I am kind of essentially playing video games as a profession. So I feel like that's pretty close. I've landed a pretty cool job.
On the Recess website, it says that kids can do hard things. Like, I know there are so many examples, but can you just give a couple?
Definitely. Okay. Let me give some context to that, though, because I think so. Yes, we are here to do hard things, um, but I think it's less important what the hard things are, but that they are hard, rather than we do things that challenge us, and that might differ from kid to kid. For some kids, turning their camera on at recess, that is hard, right? For some kids, walking towards a group of kids and saying, "Hey guys, I really want to play with you," that is hard for them, and that's where they're at, and we should meet them exactly where they're at. Um, but among my favorite hard things that recently have happened at recess is I know of two wonderful people who are starting a podcast on their own, which is pretty cool. That is hard. So props to you two. Writing a novel, right? Several kids have written a novel.
Yeah.
Consistently writing a high quality blog, not one blog post, not two, consistently writing blog posts. I know of kids who, oh, that's a fun one. Someone who has now built a replica of Hogwarts in Minecraft. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, coding data packs. So Minecraft data packs from scratch, which are like essentially modifications to the Minecraft server, creating your own items or even like your own game formats in Minecraft, and all of that through coding. That's super incredible to me. Kids who have gone from zero experience to fully developed games in GPT in our as our sort of like AI assisted game development or coding tool. All of those things are mind blowing to me.
So recess is relatively new. What are your visions of recess in 5, 10, or even 20 years?
Ooh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. It's even hard to articulate the 1 year vision for where we're going, but maybe 5 is easier actually. Okay, so yes, recess is pretty young. I think it makes sense to start where we have, which is classes and community, right? Like we didn't want to only do classes because we know for a fact that's not enough. We know the social tissue. Like I don't think you two would have ever started this podcast if you hadn't met at community hour and had done a bunch of things together that were not related to like taking one class, right? So there's a lot more than classes. Now, I think we're going to focus on that triple, quadruple, and quintuple on that very, very hard for the next few, at least for the next year or two, just making sure that we have a true amazing marketplace of classes and we can bring the community hour from like 1 hour to several, right? The idea is that there isn't an hour, it's just open, and there's a constant thriving community of kids, and there might be hours that are more moderated or not, but like yeah, so amplifying both the offerings that we have, making them better, tighter, and making what we're calling now programs, which is a structured, hey, start here if you want to do creative writing. Creative writing might not be the best example. But like if you want to do collaboration, start here, then move to step 2, then move to step 3, have all of these events for each of them, right? It's like a structured progression within the games and within recess itself, like a major sort of like hard things progression almost. So I'm really excited for all of that to happen. So more classes and better classes, and then more community and more kid-led stuff like this, or like kids being able to run their own events, being able to propose stuff, being able to bring in tools to recess, being able to even be hired on several, like on content creation, on just like several options there that I would love to explore. That's one. In 5 years, I want recess, or I really want recess to be more of a civilization for kids on the internet. That might be on the 10-year frame, but like I want to move towards there. What does that mean? Well, civilization needs governance. So I envision recess with tens of thousands of kids with governance systems, right? Where you can elect your leaders or you can govern yourselves. I want a recess with an economy that is working and that is actually live and that has value, where you can find work, ask for work, trade favors, make actual real money on the internet. All of those things could, like just working towards a place where ideally every single kid that is curious, driven, ambitious, and wants to progress and do cool things with their friends. That's what recess is about. That's what recess is about, and that's where I think every single kid should want to hang out in 10 years. So yeah, I think those are the building blocks for where we're going.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
great.
Is that how does that sound to you too?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So when you're not in recess, what do you like to do for fun?
Okay. Many things. So, well, let's. I've three kids. All of
Yeah.
you, you two have parents with several siblings. You two have several siblings, so you know what it is. It's so much fun and it's so amazing, but it's a lot of work. So I don't have as much time as and my kids are way younger, so I don't have as much time for myself. But things I love to do are one, reading a lot. One of my favorite things right now is I read with my kids a lot, not only out loud to them, which I do. We're just finishing Lord of the Rings with my older one, but we are like we read together. Like we'll read the same book or a different book, like together, and that's just happened this year, and it's so cool. I love reading; is one of my passions. Um, I'm also very much into martial arts. I've been doing martial arts since I was 12. I'm a Taekwondo black belt, and I do full contact stick fighting, which is like it's like Filipino martial arts, but full contact. So it's a lot of fun. And I before I started at recess, I used to teach weekly. I wound down the teaching since I don't have time anymore. I mean, it's far away. Whatever, but like I'll pick that back up when the kids are a little older. Um, but yeah, so a lot of martial arts, jiu-jitsu as well. I had to quit because it was not working with my schedule, but I'm gonna pick it back up at some point. So yeah, martial arts, reading. I love hiking and climbing and spending time in the mountains with my family. That is one of my favorite things to do. We're very lucky that we live super close to the sea and super close to the Pyrenees, which are amazing mountains. So I can like within an hour and a half, I can get myself to like a 3,000 meter high peak, which is amazing. And my kids have started hiking a lot more recently, so that's been a lot of fun to explore with them as well. Um, I think finally, let's see. I think it's pretty good. I think it's good. Cooking. I love cooking as well. I
Yeah.
cook most of the meals at home. It's one of my favorite things to do as well.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I like cooking as well. I think that's cool. Um,
Oh, amazing. What's your like star dish?
um, I mean, like anything really. I just like go with the flow, whatever. Um, it's go. I'm like, okay, that's fun to make. So I mean,
Cool.
like anything in general, I feel like yeah, it's
But
cool.
do you like more of the like dessert, sweets,
Yeah, kind of like
pastries?
yeah, pastries probably. I like making pie.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Pastries.
I'm terrible. Oh, yeah. I'm so bad at the pies thing, so it's good. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
Cool.
so do you like to play a game?
I would love to play a game. Let's go. Oh, that's a surprise. That's cool. All right, let's play. What are we playing?
So I'll be I'll be asking you a series of either or questions, and you'll need to answer it all. Well, not all of them, but you'll need to answer them in 30 seconds, and then there's going to be a bonus question at the end. So, yeah.
All right, wait, hold on. It's rapid fire questions, and I need to answer them in 30 seconds or less. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, about so, yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Hey,
I'm ready.
Would you rather walk or play?
Play it.
Love or friendship?
Friendship.
Money or happiness?
Actually, I'm gonna take that back. Love. Um, money or happiness? Happiness.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Summer or winter?
Oh, wait, hold on. Again?
Cat. Summer or winter?
Oh,
Right.
winter. Always.
Okay, that is your 30 seconds.
Amazing.
You did good. Yeah. I think you had maybe like 5 or 4 questions left, so you were pretty close. And then, even though you didn't make it to the end, we can do the bonus question, and it is finish the phrase. The way to my heart is.
Great food.
Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to say before we end?
Any final thoughts? Many final thoughts. Let's see. First of all, how old are you right now? The both of you?
I'm 10.
10
I'm 12.
and 12. So the fact that we've built a place where a 10 and a 12-year-old can interview me and do a podcast with this level of professionality is ridiculous to me. I think that is extremely inspiring to me. Like, I have been in podcasts with adults that have been less professional than this. I think it's incredible that this place exists, and I think more kids should know about it, and more kids should want to be like you too. That's my number one closing thought. Number two is do a lot of these until you get extremely good at them. That's my number one advice.
Yeah.
Right? The first one won't get many views. The second one won't get many views. The 10th one, you're going to be like, we should just be done with this. Hit 50 and then decide whether you're going to give it up or not.
Yeah.
Doing something hard is also doing something consistently, right? That's how you get better. That's how you master something. So, good start of your journey. I'm super excited to see where this is going. And again, yeah, I think that my number one reflection is, holy cow, I wish more people knew what was possible and what their kids could do, what their 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds could do if they actually just gave them the freedom to and the confidence to do those things. So those are my closing thoughts.
Nice. So thank you, Joan, for being on Recess Rundown, and it was really fun to get to know you.
You guys
Yeah.
are the best. Thank you so much for having me, and we should do this again whenever
Yeah.
you've done a bunch. It will be the evolution of the questions.
This is for our audience. If you're part of the Recess community and would like to be in our show, please email me, Ella, or Maddie at recessrundown@gmail.com or message us on the Recess platform, and we will try to get you on the show. We will make sure to get you on the show.
So please like and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you in the next episode.
Let's go. All right, girls.